I didn't show up, but I brought a card and a candle.
I don't know if they'll come to this one do this stuff together. Well, I know.
Sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy. The skies are gray. You never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. Mistaken, and I hung my head down and cried. Stand by me, oh. We all have sorrow, but if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow. Lean on me when you're not strong. I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna somebody to lean on.
You're finding good money.
If there is a load you have to bear that you can't carry, I'm right up the road, I'll share the load. If you just call me brother, if you need a hand. We all need somebody to lean on. Just might have a problem that you understand. We all need somebody to lean on. Lean on me when you're not strong. I'll be a friend. I'll help you carry on. I'm gonna be somebody to lean on. Please swallow your pride. If I have things you need to borrow, no one can tell those other things that you don't mention. Lean on me when you're not strong. I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. It won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Somebody to lean on.
What is that?
Sing grace, how sweet the sound. Save a wretch like me.
Beautiful, beautiful.
I hope that was good.
Beautiful, thank you.
I didn't really know her that well. I met her a couple times on the street. She looked just exactly like that.
Hello. Okay. Well, thank you everyone for coming today to honor Deseire. And when the first thing we're going to do is where is Daryl? I thought him. Oh, here you are. Okay. And so anyway, just you may not know who I am, but I'm Keith. And and I'm really honored to be presiding over this memorial to remember Deseire. She was a fighter, and this is an appropriate location for her memorial because it was the people manipulating events in City Hall that caused her to be forced into the Pogonip, where she lost her life. But because of that, we're redoubling our efforts to resist and to push back on these outrageous policies of this city and of cities across the country, of states and of the country itself. No one should be having to sleep outdoors in this cold weather here, and imagine having to sleep outdoors in Boston or Chicago, or it's already horrible enough here. So she stood for us and fought for us, and so I want to now turn this over to Daryl. And Daryl, darling, will lead us in a couple of some words of prayer and thought and some scripture, I believe.
I want you to just reach out first and take someone's hand next to you. Just reach across the room. We have this myth. We've grown into it, but it is the myth that we can survive one by one. We can survive alone. That we can thrive alone. That we can get ahead of the pack. We can get higher than someone else. Who knows, maybe we'll get to be the highest one. The reason I say it's a myth, and I give tribute to the man standing up here, our Councilman Drew Glover, for his establishment of the beehive, the encouragement of beekeeping. I don't know how many of you know that we as a species are not individual. There are 5 species, 2 varieties of prairie dog, that is 2 species of prairie dog and one similar to a prairie dog, the ants and the bees and the human beings. Our species is one of 5 species that live primarily as colonies. As the human species grew and from the apes and from the other primate species, we began to go out across the planet, our beautiful planet Earth. We didn't travel alone. There were scouts, human beings that scampered out a mile or so to see what was on the other ridge. He came back, or she, probably he. The men are more explorers. The women, thank God, keep the home fires burning. But we traveled as men and women and babies in colonies. We could not have survived the saber-toothed tiger, the woolly mammoth, any of these other critters. We'd have been wiped out, except as a colony, as a group. We have evolved into community. And it's only through community that we survive and thrive. Yes, in community we thrive. And if anyone, you know, Jesus talked about the last sheep, and he said that the lost sheep. He told this parable. He's in a carpenter. He's probably a carpenter. His dad was a carpenter. Chances are he was the only carpenter in this little village of Nazareth. But they were in a shepherding community, sheep herders. And so Jesus tells this story, this parable. If one of you comes nighttime, you're out there on the hillside, and you find that there's one missing lamb or one sheep, which one of you would not go out, have the herd, have the fold, stay together? They will, and you go out and you find that one lost lamb that cannot survive alone. So it is, as Jesus says, so it is with God. And he doesn't go into great detail on that. He just says, this is the way we are. And whatever it is that drives us out to find the one that didn't find his way or didn't find her way, we call that love. It's a dynamic energy that brings us together, that keeps us together. Imagine the loneliness. I'll just say the extreme. The loneliness of a man who just keeps tweeting and can never get enough individually, no matter how hard he tries. Cannot get enough individually to satisfy him or to reassure him that he is loved. We lost Deirdre, Deseire. We lost Deseire. Because, why? She went out to see if her friend was okay. It stormed. No, I'm not. This isn't just sentimentality. This is the story of the human species life. And we don't have a whole lot more time to fool around and try and to rise above and to be the king of the mountain, whatever else drives us to be individually something that we're not. We are beloved on this beautiful planet Earth, and we are one with the Earth. We've emerged from all the other species. We, in these jackets, in warriors' jackets, we root for our team, but we are sophisticated amoeba, and we celebrate our emergence from the muck of the earth and the amino acids. And here we are. What we live by, what we thrive by, is love. The kind of love that drove our dear one out to seek her dear one. Was he the most important human being in her life? I don't know. Some of you know. Was she really close to the man she went out to check on?
Yeah.
I thought probably pretty close. But likewise, she was close to you. She would have gone out for any one of us. As I said, was it yesterday? She was the one who, having nothing, having less than nothing, gave a little more than it away for our sake. That's what we live for. And I don't think it's a real stretch to recognize that Jesus, who told us these parables, he died on a tree because this message was so radical that everyone, no one was left out. Everyone is a part of the whole human species, the whole human family, the race, and one with the earth. Told lots of parables about the birds and all kinds of other natural phenomena of earth. But he just was too inclusive for the people who have to be on top for them to feel worthy. And so the ones on top nailed him to a tree. I guess you're not going to go far from there. And I say all of us, put her out. And she led many of them. She helped make community out on that little shred of earth, out on the outskirts. No value to that land at all, except it wasn't in the water. Either falling down and put shelters over us, and the water wasn't rising yet. Just that little shred of earth. And we had to have cleaned up, prettied up. Well, it wasn't so pretty, was it? Just bare ground, but we got to keep it clean. We got to get the needles all picked up. So they're not really hurting anybody in there, or over there, or over there. Nobody was being hurt by them. We could avoid it, you know. But she called out of nothing. She called into being community. He was nailed to a tree. She died running. No, not running. She died under a tree. Martin died with garbage strappers. And in their dying, in their giving more than they had, more than they were, they gave heart to us, calling away, and she gave us to each other.
Thank you so much. Okay, I wanted to now introduce Elisa.
Well, not yet.
Not yet.
I want to talk about these. I think Nick has a poem.
Nick has
first,
a Nick
and
has a
then
poem.
Crystal.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Okay.
I'll say a few words. I was talking with a man called Dre, African-American man. Does anybody know Dre?
Drew?
Dre told me that he was her lover.
Right.
Trey.
Trey.
I'm sorry. Is that true?
Yeah.
Trey was her lover. All right. He said he had 2 wives before, and he considered her his 3rd wife. He told me that Desiree was a firefighter, a professional firefighter, and she was the head of her unit, the head engineer of her unit. And shortly before she lost her position, somebody else took over her unit for some reason, and they sent her firefighting unit into the flames. And every member of her firefighting unit lost their lives. So Desiree had a familiarity with the passing of the body. And she recovered from that. But she had an accident at work as a firefighter. And that's what cost her her career and her survival. And I believe that's how she became homeless. The state, huh? Yeah. The state did not look after Desiree. So
This is a signature.
I just want to read a poem that relates to that. She had the power of a queen, the power of love, no in between. Are you going to carry the day and the hour? Desiree's sisters, holy power. We lost her too soon, but don't be forlorn. Others will come like a shining morn. They won't mess with dope and such. They're too real, they're too much. They're gonna toss the bad shit out and do things we can all shout about. They'll toss their thunderbolts through the air. They'll lay waste the devil's lair, who rules our world from way down there. Give it up now and get serene. Here come the judge, here come the queen, with a dozen mighty faces saying, where have you been? Where are you headed? Are you sure? We need your hearts, best be sure. Harriet Tubman to Princess Di, brave good women keeping us high. Power of the heart, power of the sigh. Hope ain't enough for the truly real, the humble ones who still can feel. Hope's a beginning, it's not an end. Because you gotta strive, get strong and mend. Bend this world back into shape, bend it till it's right again, bend it till the wrong lets out its final shriek, and it be gone, forever be gone.
Thank you. So Alicia, you want to, and when you're speaking, so and then we want everyone to share their stories of how they know Desiree, or crazy things that you did with Desiree, whatever you want to share. But hold the mic up close so that you can be loud enough for everybody to hear. So okay, Alicia, you gonna come? Okay. Just great. Okay.
So Crystal wants to say a couple things first, and then I want to talk about our demands in memory of Deseire Quintero. So Crystal?
Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. Desiree was, and I don't want to talk too much, I just want to say that I loved her a huge amount, and I will always remember every word that she's taught me so much, and I think it's terrible, and it didn't have to happen, and it's really fucked up, and I fucking hate it. But I have to think positive, and all I know is that anything and everything that I ever get to take from her is all positive and good, and just the words that I needed to hear at the right time. No sugarcoat, because she didn't do that, but I have a lot of respect for that lady, and now she's gone, and I love her.
So Desiree was very much a pay it forward person. She taught me to pay it forward. She would give you anything she had, even if she had very little. She is the reason I became mostly an activist, and also the reason that I was the Ross Camp liaison. And I've spent a lot of time grieving over this, and I feel like now is the time that we fight back. Desiree was very much about that, and she said this cause is a good cause. We're tired of being treated like dirt, and so that's very important. And so we have set some demands in memory of Deseire Quintero, and the first demand is a moratorium on enforcement of all laws designed to or having the effect of criminalizing the homeless, including the issuing of citations for being in a park after dark, trespass on public property, and the blocking of sidewalks. Dismissal of all pending charges against persons who were forced to break these laws to survive. And we all know that the police are going after the homeless, and that they intentionally wake people up, take their belongings, throw their belongings away. They're making it hard for people to survive, and that's not acceptable. The second demand is immediate opening of the Civic Auditorium and other public buildings vacant at night as emergency shelter for the elderly, disabled, and vulnerable folks this winter. Public disclosure of all vacant, city-owned, city-controlled, and tax-delinquent properties and their designation as available emergency housing for the homeless. A moratorium on evictions of low-income renters facing homelessness. Immediate opening of the city and citizen-organized survival campgrounds for the winter. If they aren't going to give us a location, we're going to set one up ourselves.
Yeah.
Yes. We already have.
Number 3.
Know that.
Full compliance, and I mean full compliance with the legal requirements of Martin versus Boise. No more lies. You lied. You did not provide adequate emergency available alternative shelter. You lied in court to a federal district judge. And my friend, who was not offered shelter, died.
That's right.
Died in the woods because she was not offered shelter. So we want full compliance with the legal requirements of Martin versus Boise, the decision by the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals that prohibits enactment and enforcement of laws targeting the homeless where no alternative indoor shelter has been provided. Number 4, the firing of Santa Cruz Chief of Police Andrew Mills, City Manager Martin, and Assistant City Manager Susie O'Hara. Why? Because they're involved in anti-homeless policy. They support an anti-homeless agenda. They are, in part, helping the hysteria going around that is enabling the lack of solutions around here. They are the enablers. They are enabling the death of people. And that's not okay. We're here to hold them accountable. Number 5, fully restore rights to those at 1220 River Street, providing them showers, drinking water, free access to those who make 1220 River their home, and respect the civil rights of all those who live at that city-run camp. Terminate the contract with the Salvation Army and recognize the rights and abilities of the 1220 River Street residents to manage the camp themselves. We're not babies, we're not children, we don't need a nanny. We know how to live, and we can manage our own selves. I had a lady tell me that she is upset because she can't ride a bike anymore, and you can only walk in and out of there if you have a bike and can ride a bike. Otherwise, you have to get on the shuttle and you're at their convenience whether to come and go or not. Those people aren't in jail. You know, compare the rules and regulations there to a prison work program. It's unacceptable. Number 6, end the seizure of homeless people's personal survival property. Every week now we are having to do an emergency winter shelter drive. It's either Saturday or Sunday outside of Costco. We're asking for tents, blankets, and all these things. Why? Because it's cold outside and the police are stealing people's, and Parks and Rec are stealing people's survival gear on a weekly basis now. And people are going to die if we cannot keep them warm and out of the elements.
Twice a week now.
Number 7, authorize private entities to sponsor portable toilets, provide 24-hour access to the public bathrooms at the SoCal and Locust Street garages, and restore full access to the Loudon Nelson bathrooms with the code if necessary. It's ridiculous that we have no bathrooms around here. People need to use the restroom. All this anti-homeless agenda saying that they're going to ruin the bathrooms, this is ridiculous. You know, they didn't even prove that the Loudon Nelson bathrooms had any type of damage that would justify the closure of them. If this is all anti-homeless hysteria going on in this community, we need bathrooms. This is not rocket science.
Yeah.
Number 8, demand that Chief Mills, Mayor Watkins, and the city manager Bernal publicly denounce vigilante violence and harassment against those who cannot afford housing, and remove all anti-homeless hate speech on any city websites and social media platforms. We know that there has been hate speech to the homeless. The city has done nothing to denounce vigilante violence in this community. We have reported that people have been threatened to be set on fire, people's RVs, you know, jumped on, rude notes, you know, Harry the Flame. I have provided screenshots and presentations. I have asked the police chief to denounce publicly vigilante violence. Even though we know that's a given and nobody should be committing violence on anybody else, he knows that's a problem here in Santa Cruz and he should make a public announcement against it. Number 9, acknowledge the legitimacy of homes on wheels, parking in industrial zones, add sanitary facilities and trash pickups, and end the towing of people's homes, even if they are not registered. I don't know if you've been following, but recently they said that if you have over 5 parking tickets, and we all know they come after homeless people and anybody that looks like they're living in their vehicles to try to give them as many tickets as possible. Well, now they're announcing that if you have more than 5, or you have over 5 months of registration past due, they are going to tow your vehicle away, perhaps your home away, causing even more homelessness. Instead of acknowledging right now that in this city, homes on wheels are almost the last affordable option. You know, displacing people onto the streets where you can harass them, where they might die because you know you don't have shelter, is unacceptable. We will not tolerate that. Number 10, because the city is responsible very much for my friend's death, when they lied in court and did not offer adequate shelter when they broke up the Ross camp and displaced over 200 people without a safe place to go, we're asking that October 27th be designated as Deseire Quintero Day in the city of Santa Cruz. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So you can see now that's what our demands, and we're not backing down. These demands have been really parts of the 2000 study by the City Council, with something similar to this, the 2017, the grand jury. We can go on and on. It's obvious what needs to happen, and so since the city's not going to do it, we're going to do it. So that's that. Yeah, would anybody else like to say some words about their relationship with Desi, or just about the idea that it's okay to treat our community this way? So feel free to, come up. Thank you.
I'm really sorry. I was late.
Point it towards your mouth, like this way.
Yeah, you gotta get right in your mouth. There you go.
Like this?
Yeah, perfect.
This is really a tragedy. And I don't imagine that the city is reading the signals of the level of deterioration in our society. People can be on the streets right next to luxury condominiums going up, 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 and out. It's an outrage. And Deseire is one of the people who is a sacrificial victim. I've been reading a lot about the Holocaust this summer. Holocaust means burned sacrifice. And I feel like the homeless are our sacrificial victims. They're the ones that are suffering. And we need to name that, and we need to express the incredible beauty of the outrage that you just expressed, and the determination to make it change. I met Deseire at the Ross camp, and like so many other people, I just felt her incredible determination and strength. And I loved standing there with her and then sitting on the curb, watching all of the people come up to her and talk to her and look for comfort to her. And she encouraged everybody. I felt like she was a real anchor at that camp. And I'm just very grateful that there are strong women in the world like Deseire, like you, and like so many. And I'm really happy to see so many good people here today.
Thank you, Lord. Okay, Cora, and then Drew.
On Sunday, I went to community TV, and Andy Mills and Justin Cummings were being interviewed by Steve Plate. I wish I would have pressed more on asking, he didn't want to be called Chief Mills, but asking him if he offered housing to those people who not only were being hauled away when their cars expired. He gave an answer that it was a state issue, but all the other reasons that were just stated by Alicia, people that are displaced because they lied and they didn't have enough shelter. Basically, do they offer shelter? No. They take away your belongings and you don't get them back. I didn't really know Deseire very well, but when I lived so close to the Ross camp, I would go there a lot, and some of the meetings I attended happened to be at a time I could go, and I noticed she was always the one that was referred to, and they called her from wherever she was in the camp to answer questions, and I just caught that fire in her eyes, and just a real desire to be the one to help, the one to serve, and I really respect that, and I'm sad for her family, and I'm just glad to know a little bit about people like her. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Well, I guess I knew Deseire a bit. When I met her, Bush was in office. Oh, I know. Yeah, it was a long time ago, and we got through a lot since then. But after I met her down at HSC, the Homeless Service Center, you know, we've been talking or something, and I can't remember what it was I did, but I'm sure it wasn't proper. I don't know what it was, but she just chewed me out on the spot. I mean, I lost 10 pounds out of my ass. And I mean, I respected her, I mean, I was also scared of her because she's smaller than me and I had to look down at her, and she always had this way of looking up and you know that if you say the wrong thing, she's gonna jab you or something. And one thing I liked really even better than that was a couple days later, and I wasn't so scared, she wasn't so pissed. She came up, said, "I'm sorry, I probably reacted a little bit harsh." I said, "You frightened me, but I know dynamite comes in small packages." And that's what she was. She always had a sparkle in her eyes. She was always out helping people. But she wasn't helping people, she was planning something to do. And everybody knows she just had all that energy, and she was always there running around doing stuff. Even if the Ross Camp were still open, I think she would have been up in the Pogonip checking on people. I think she would have been around somewhere doing something. Getting pizza in the middle of the night to go out and hand it out to people. Des was that kind of person. And even if you didn't agree with her, and you didn't always see eye to eye with her, which was sort of hard sometimes, but you always could respect that, she had passion, she had heart, she always spoke loud, and even though she's gone, I think we'll still hear her voice for a while.
Yeah, her voice is going to roar across this nation. There are vigils like this happening in cities all across the United States honoring Deseire. And I know the first one was actually even before we did a vigil in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, the Lancaster Union of the Homeless. Okay. Thank you. They're gonna roar. Okay.
I have a couple things to say in regards. I didn't know her personally, but she made a big impact with what went on with the power outage and all this happening in such a timely fashion. I know that we need to orchestrate something that's going to work for the community as far as the homeless, and it has to be done constructively where it's not going to get the flack from people who are against it. And I'm hoping that we can orchestrate something that's going to work or to oversee a successful encampment, because that needs to happen in this town, and it's been proven in other cities and states. So I'm hoping that it can happen for Santa Cruz, because we really need to uphold the face of this city, and the city needs to do something about it. They really do.
Thank you. So also at 6 o'clock at the Vets Hall is the cash meeting where they will be trying to discuss some kind of solutions for homelessness. And we had a chant yesterday, nothing about us without us, when we took over the League of California Cities Homeless Policy Workshop. And I think we might want to do the same thing tonight at the end of this vigil, is to just go over as a group of people, and as we had done, and just make it known that we, that the decision should be made with people who are impacted and not by others that are appointed by Mayor Watkins. So is anybody, and the cash meeting's at the Vets Hall. Yes, it's a short walk over there, and it's warmer inside the Vets Hall. I could tell you from experience. So is anybody, would somebody else like to come forward and speak about their feelings about Deseire or stories about Deseire? Or did you almost get hit by a helicopter with Deseire, she had to duck? Anybody else want to speak? Okay.
So I can't say too much about Deseire, though I've been around her a little bit when we were organizing support for the Ross Camp and support after the Ross Camp was destroyed. by Martine Bernal's essentially attempt to get an injunction, and the city's shutting down thanks to Justin Cummings' fourth vote on this issue that crushed the Ross camp, even though they had no adequate shelter. And of course, I'm bringing this up repeatedly whenever I get my 2 minutes of city council, and encouraging those sitting city council members who are in the audience, thank you for coming, to actually speak about it and not be intimidated by recall efforts, censure efforts, ignoring by Mayor Watkins and so forth. I think that's what certainly Desiree's friends would have wanted. That's what I want, and I suspect that's what she would have wanted too. I also think that there's going to probably have to be some kind of winter protection for homeless people created by homeless people themselves. It happens every winter anyway, but when it happened last winter, it happened in a spot where people could come and actually provide support. So I don't know where it's going to happen this year, but when it does, I encourage all of you and anyone you can bring with you or contact to provide that kind of support that you can to the camp. And I would like to see actually a kind of phone tree organized. We tried to organize this when the Ross camp was threatened because we thought they were going to attack it, and a lot of people wanted to get together and maybe show up that day, link arms around the camp and so forth. That didn't happen. The city cleverly created diversions about, we have lies about adequate shelter, and a secondary campground that they quickly dispersed later, and another that they filled up with 60 people very quickly, leaving most of the people in the Ross camp out of it. So there's a sign-up sheet on the table which refers to the Loudon Nelson bathrooms. But I suspect if you also favor opening those bathrooms, you might also favor being contacted if we hear that there's going to be another formation of a campground, or that a campground once established is being threatened. So I encourage you, if you don't already, haven't given your number to the Union of the Homeless, and Alicia has those numbers, and they're available. You can find the Union every Sunday at 5 o'clock at the Food Not Bombs meal. And you can also contact her by phone at 431 thank you, 7766. 431-7766, and let her know that, you know, what your information is so she can call you, or somebody can call you and let you know that help is needed.
Yes.
Thanks.
Any other people like to come forward and speak?
Yeah.
Okay, you should certainly do. Beautiful.
This is my friend Brenda. She loved Desi.
Desiree was my first friend here in Santa Cruz. She was awesome.
Speak up, sis.
I'll always remember Desiree. Be my first friend in Santa Cruz. And she was the most giving, most wonderful person I'd ever met. And if I could see anything, she was just always so giving. And I try to, be the same. Because I love that about her. That's my memory of her. She's my friend, and I know you all don't know her, but she's a wonderful person.
We love Desiree. She was a big part of my life. At Ross Camp, I remember her doing her tent just so perfectly, She's got it down, it was nothing to her, And here I am struggling, and I'm telling my boyfriend, I'm like, can't you just do it like Desi's? I remember she always had, everything, she didn't need no help from nobody. She got it, and she definitely, I wanted mine to be like her. And she was willing to help me do mine, but I really, really didn't want her to have to go out in the rain to do that. My boyfriend should have been the one to step up, but I ended up having the neighbor do it. But yeah, I just really feel blessed. I feel blessed I got to know her. I feel blessed I got to get out of my situation. I got blessed that I, have advanced in my life, and I feel like, the Ross Camp was a big part of it, and that community was my community, that, you know, that was there for me, you know, and when it came down to it, like, there was nothing that I would go without. Like, in Desiree, I'd always make sure, like, if people were dropping things off for everybody, I'd get one for me and one for Desi, you know. I never let Desi without anything, and she liked that, and I told her, I said, Desi, I said, you know, I have so much respect for you. I look up to you so much, you know, you know, I just want you to know, you know. And she told me, well, I've never heard anybody say anything bad about you, and that touched my heart as well. Yeah, so those are just a couple memories from Ross Camp. I know that I was able to talk to her, and she was able to talk to me, because at the time she really wasn't going through it, and living at the Ross Camp, it's not all peachy keen. It's not like cupcakes and baking, you know. It's a survival. It's survival, and we're creative as, you know, individual human beings that have to survive with nothing, you know, and we make it happen no matter what. And if we can't, our neighbor is gonna help us out, and we need to stick together. And I don't care, dude, we as a community need to stick together. It's 2020, people. This angry shit, this fucking bullshit about hate and all that, it's over, dude. That's way 2000, you know. And it's time that people just open their hearts and just start to just relax, you know, just love everybody, because you never know when you're going to lose somebody. And I learned that a lot from Desi by that, because we had plans this weekend, and we had plans. I just talked to her. I was Friday night, that weekend. I call her up, Desi, I'm at the Blue Lagoon. The Chippendales are going to be here, you know, the little male guys, you know, that dance, whatever. So I said, if you want to go, I'll get us a ticket right now, you know. She said, oh, I want to go, but I can't, you know. And I was like, well, I really can't afford it, but, you know, if you want to go, I'll get us tickets, you know. And really, I just laugh at that, because, you know, she was old school when it came to, you know, relationships and all that, you know. Her lover was Trey, but she lost that, you know, and it was really sad that she was going through that at the Ross Camp with me. And you know, I know that she loves Trey, and I know that, you know, he loves her, and he made a mistake and whatever, and I'm sure, and I don't want to say anything bad, but, you know, it was something to have to see somebody that gives so much be in so much pain, you know, in all honesty. So to work that out with her as I'm going through my own stuff, like, we got to know each other really, really, really well, and it's just sad. I think this whole thing is sad, and I just can't believe it. And it just, sometimes, you know, I've worked now. I got a job, you know, full-time farming, and I'm a full-time student, you know, going to classes and taking these online classes, and I overdid it, and I'm so overwhelmed right now with school and work and just life, and now Desi, and just one after another. And I just think it's time that the community gives it a break. People, fucking love each other, please. We don't want much. We all just want to be loved. That's it.
That's what Desi said. She loves everyone. Yeah.
Do it like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Geez.
I just want to make a brief comment. I didn't know the woman very well. A few times I was around her. Seemed like quite a decent working class woman. Yes. And to me, the irony is that she would be alive today if we lived in a town where she could use a Section 8 voucher. Bottom line.
Exactly.
Bottom line. She saved lives.
Yep.
She was a pioneer.
Do you want to speak?
Yeah, I'll speak up a little bit.
Hold it up close.
And point it toward your mouth.
I love Desi. She was just right on my eye level.
only 4'9", just like me. And bless her heart, she packed a wallop. I remember the first time I met her at the soup kitchen. They were serving their 2 meals a day, breakfast and dinner at 4 o'clock. And oh, she was just such a little socialite. She was just amazing. She was a Latina lover. She just loved everybody. She sparkled. She was just so precious. Oh God. Maybe, you know, her spirit is alive in every redwood tree that we've got around here. The redwoods claimed her. She's a delightful woman, and I'll miss her the rest of my life.
Thank you so much. There are more people that want to say a few words? Okay. Well, it's cold, and I want, yeah. So, yeah, okay. There you go.
I'm Lucero Luna, and I was part of the Freedom Sleepers here. I was banned for 12 months, so I had to go back to Ventura County. So I came for this, and I just found out earlier that she talked about what she would like to have happen when she died, and that was to celebrate with dancing. So I think we should warm up with dancing.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, she was a dancer too. You and I are both.
Yeah, well, it's thank you so much, everyone, for coming out today. This is the beginning of a campaign where these DESI demands, the demands that we have published, the 10 demands, we are going to fight to have those become a reality in this town. That was the last final mark in the sand, was the redwood tree crashing down in the Diablo winds on DESI. And so that marks the beginning of ending this campaign of hate in this city against the people who built this city, who built our country, who are living outside in this harsh weather. And if anybody is desperate for a sleeping bag, I brought a bunch of sleeping bags. Thank you very much, and thanks. We need to pack up. Okay, and go to the cash meeting at 6 tonight, and let them see what a community looks like. Thank you.